to be as good as what they have done. They are got to the point of being able to compete in championships all around the world. So in themselves, they have done an absolute amazing job to get to where they are today. And also be here today to show you their amazing demonstration. So if we could give the guys a round of applause. Sorry? It's not going to happen, I'm afraid. No, I'm only doing what's on here. So once again, please do put your hands together for Ant and Josh, the jet ski demonstration. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude all our water activities on the main river this evening. As I'm sure you're all aware, in about 15 minutes' time at 9:45, we do have the grand finale of the Medway in Flames. Is everyone ready? I said, is everyone ready? Well, I can hear you down the far end. I can't hear you down here. I said, is everyone ready? Excellent. So 15 minutes time, you have the main spectacular of the grand finale for the Medway on Flames. Please do head the way down to the riverfront. If you can't get onto the main waterfront, please don't panic. There are main screens located completely around the main site. So you have got one in the main fairground. So if you are in the fairground at the moment, don't panic too much. There is a screen located in there. There is also a screen located on the stage, which is located in front of the Dockside Outlet Centre. There is then another stage that is located just behind the apartments at the main blue building, which is then on the stage over there. So please, if you can't make it down to the waterfront, don't worry. Everything that will be happening, the main spectacular, will be broadcasted onto the main screens. So 15 minutes or so and we'll be ready for the grand finale.
450 and 460. 450 and 460. Okay, how many likes are you getting now? How many active?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public announcement. If you have any knowledge of a drone that is being flown in the area, if there's any possibility of the drone being landed, as it may invalidate the events obviously in which you are seeing. So please, if anybody knows the owner of the drone, please could you ask them please to ground it, as we don't want it interrupting the main event for this evening. Many thanks.
They sank the Royal Oak and the Old James.
Keep up the cannon fire. They must not get to the dockyard.
We're taking return fire.
They cannot take any of our ships.
Sir. They're setting alight the Loyal London!
"350 years ago, the River Medway, the thread that draws together the rich and colourful history of this important area of Britain, was ablaze in fire. But what had led to this inferno? How was it allowed to happen, and how did it play a part in the history of two great European nations? Medway is an area with a rich historical landscape, from the monuments of Britain's earliest farmers through to the building of nuclear submarines. It was the scene of a battle between Celts and Romans, the birthplace of an English samurai, and inspired one of the world's greatest storytellers. From its source in the heart of Kent, the river sweeps east past the majesty of Rochester Castle towards Chatham, and the most important dockyard in the world during the Great Age of Sail. The dockyard where Nelson's flagship Victory was laid out and built, where the HMS Namur, the ship that changed fighting ships forever, was designed and constructed, and where at its industrial peak over 10,000 skilled men and women were employed on a site of some 400 acres. Moving onward, we pass Upnor Castle, the Elizabethan artillery fort built to protect Chatham Dockyard and the ships of the Royal Navy, and whose part in our story ensured its place in British naval history forever. Weaving its way past Rainham and the vast marshlands of the Hoo Peninsula, the waters of the River Medway eventually joined forces with the Thames estuary at Sheerness, on the northern tip of the Isle of Sheppey, the arena where much of the Anglo-Dutch wars were fought.
Hello, I'm Oliver Cooper. I'm a Londoner by birth and in the English Navy for my sins. We've been at war with the Dutch for a number of years now, but for many of us, it's the least of our worries. It's 1665 and London is ravaged by the plague. It's killed over 100,000 people in just 18 months, wiping out almost a quarter of London's population. We've lost a good wife and mother.
Have we lost everything, Dad?
Not quite, my love.
Samuel Pepys is the administrator of the fleet, and he's kept a diary of events.
Thus this month ends with great sadness upon the public, through the greatness of the plague. Everywhere through the kingdom, almost every day, sadder and sadder news of its increase. In the city died this week 6,102 of the plague. But it is feared the true figure of the dead this week is near 10,000. Even the king has fled with his family to the relative safety of Oxford.
Lucky for some. These plague doctors walk the alleyways, and all the time the bodies continue to pile up. The English fortunes are on the turn. Come, children. It's 1666, and there looked to be no end to the plague until this devastating event, the Great Fire of London.
Dad, have we lost everything now?
We've still got each other. fire has destroyed vast amounts of land within the city walls, including thousands of homes, churches and St Paul's Cathedral. The poor souls who have survived the plague now flee from the fire, taking whatever valuables they can carry.
Come on, Dad. Aunt Rose is expecting us.
Above 300 houses have been burnt down tonight. So I made myself ready and walked to the tower. And there I did see the houses at the end of the bridge all on fire, and an infinite great fire on this and the other side. The saddest sight of desolation that I ever saw.
With an Anglo-Dutch war added to the plague and the Great Fire, England is financially and spiritually broken. Her proud navy lies dormant at Chatham, with no money left to repair and refit her ships.
Peace negotiations had already begun to bring the war to an end. Many in England also believed that the Dutch would be unable to fund a powerful fleet of their own. The king was yet to be convinced, even by his own brother.
Are we sure that the fleet is safe moored at Chatham?
Of course. There are a few problems. I've heard that groups of mariners have revolted against their foremen, as they have not been paid in months, and morale is at an all-time low.
Do you not understand that money is in short supply?
I've ordered the discharge of most of the crews of the prized vessels, leaving 3 guard ships in the Medway. The number of fire ships has been increased from 1 to 3. A strong iron chain, supported by pontoons, has been stretched across the river at Gillingham, and there are 30 pinnacles available to fend off enemy fire ships. The fleet is perfectly safe, resting in the waters of the Medway.
We must conclude these peace negotiations at Breda. These Dutch wars are draining our resources.
And you think the French will side with us?
They had better.
For years, there have been continuing conflicts of interest between the two nations. Skirmishes broke out that led to the first of 4 Anglo-Dutch wars. Having developed a fighting technique called the broadside, the English inflicted heavy losses on the Dutch. At the end of 1666, the English controlled the Channel. This was to be a short-lived English success. The Dutch Republican and Grand Pensionary Johan de Witt was opposed to peace on the terms then available at Breda and thought it best to end the war quickly with a clear victory, ensuring a more advantageous settlement for the Dutch Republic.
Charles is bankrupt. He can't send his fleet out. We will attack his fleet where it lies.
We cannot navigate the Medway. It is simply too dangerous. The tides make it too risky.
We have 2 English pilots who have good knowledge of the Medway, don't we? The traitor, Robert Holland, and the smuggler.
But it's over 9 nautical miles to the English fleet. It's the tides are against us all the way. It will take days to navigate the river.
Mikhail de Ruyter, are you not one of our greatest admirals? You and your admirals will negotiate it, I'm sure. You will encounter little resistance. The pathetic English army are scattered up and down the country, dealing with little skirmishes that we've set up.
And what of the fortifications along the river?
Sheerness is unfinished. Upnor will be our only challenge.
And the negotiations at Breda, the treaty for peace, what of them?
This will be our best chance at negotiating that peace.
The Dutch slowly built up the strength of their fleet at sea. By the 7th of June, the Dutch Admiral Michiel de Ruyter arrived at the mouth of the Thames with 62 frigates, about 15 lighter ships and 12 fire ships.
I have organised the fleet into 3 squadrons. I will command the first. Lieutenant Admiral Art Janser von Ness will command the second, and Lieutenant Admiral Baron Willem Joseph van Gent will command the third. I have sent a small squadron into the Medway. We plan to attack English shipping and, if possible, seize the defences of Sheerness.
Slowly manoeuvring through the shoals, leaving the heavier vessels behind as a covering, Lieutenant Admiral van Gent was given command of the squadron, which contained 17 men of war of between 60 and 36 guns, most of the 10 fireships in the fleet and all of the smaller galleots. The following day, the King instructed Admiral George Monk, the Duke of Albemarle, to go to Chatham to take charge of matters. Albemarle went first to Gravesend.
To my dismay, at Gravesend and at Tilbury, too few guns were present to halt a possible Dutch advance upon the Thames. To prevent such a disaster, I have ordered that all available artillery from the capital be moved to Gravesend.
The Dutch fleet arrive at the Isle of Sheppey on the 10th of June and launch an attack on the incomplete garrison point 4. Captain Jan van Brakel in his ship Vrede, followed by 2 other men of war, sailed as close to the fort as possible to engage it with cannon fire.
I have found out that the Dutch have fired on the fort. 7 men remain, but their position has become untenable when some 800 Dutch Marines landed about a mile away. Sheerness is thus lost, its guns being captured by the Dutch and the building blown up.
The only ship which was able to defend against the Dutch was the Unity, which was supported by a number of ketches and fireboats at Garrison Point.
The Unity fired 1 broadside, but when attacked by a Dutch fireship, she withdrew up the Medway, followed by the English fireships and ketches.
We're told that Sheerness is lost last night, after 2 or 3 hours' dispute. The enemy hath possessed himself of that place, which is very sad, and puts us into great fears of Chatham.
By this time, the whole of the Thames side, as far up as London, was in a panic, fueled by rumour after rumour that the Dutch were to invade London.
Run! Get out of London! The Dutch are coming!
But the Dutch had other plans.
It's the 11th of June, and Lord Albemarle is here in Chatham, expecting the place to be ready for an attack. 2 members of the Naval Board, Sir John Menzies and Lord Henry Brouncker, have arrived early to meet with the Dockyard Commissioner, Peter Pett.
Gentlemen, I arrive here to find only 12 of the 800 dockyard men expected, and these in a state of panic. There are no munitions, no powder, and the 6-inch thick chain that blocks the Medway has yet to be protected by batteries. Pett, what is going on?
I had made it known on many occasions that we were not in a fit position to repel an attack by the Dutch or even the French. My voice has been lost in the corridors of the Admiralty.
Move all available artillery from Gravesend to Chatham now. You man, come over here.
Many officers have been assembled. All are giving conflicting orders, and utter confusion now reigns.
Pett, send a squadron of cavalry and a company of soldiers to reinforce Upnor Castle. Have we sunk the block ships yet?
Yes, and the chain across the river is now defended by light batteries. I propose the sinking of several bigger and smaller ships in the Musselbank Channel in front of the chain.
Take some men from the warships to help with this.
But this will leave the main fleet with only a few men aboard.
Also, sink block ships near Upnor Reach, near the castle. This should present another barrier to the Dutch should they break through the chain at Gillingham.
The defensive chain placed across the river had at its lowest point been lying practically 9 feet under the water between its stages. Attempts were made to raise it by placing stages under it closer to the shore.
The Duke of Albemarle writes that all is safe as to the great ships against any assault. the boom and chain being so fortified, which puts my heart into great joy.
As chaos and panic ensued in Chatham, the Dutch, under the command of de Ruyter, advanced along the Medway. With ships commanded by Cornelis de Witt and Willem van Gent, de Ruyter's fleet looked unstoppable. Every line of the English defence was in place, but could it stop the attack? The link at Gillingham was the next to be tested.
We have positioned the Royal Charles, the Navy's flagship, and the Matthias just above the chain. They have been adjusted to enable their broadsides to bear upon it. We've positioned the Monmouth above the chain so that she is able to bring her guns to bear on the space between the Royal Charles and the Matthias.
Sir, we need to move the Royal Charles upriver. It was meant to have been done several weeks ago, but I'm afraid I'd not gotten around to it.
The sloops are moving supplies. The Royal Charles will just have to stay where she is for the time being. Have we sunk the frigate Marmaduke and the Norway Merchant above the chain?
Yes, and the Sancta Maria has foundered whilst being moved for the same purpose.
On the 12th of June, the Dutch reached the chain. The Vrede, under Captain Jan van Brakel, and with 2 fireships in support, led the attack. While the Vrede attacked and captured the Unity, the fireships attacked and broke the chain. The Royal Charles, with only 30 cannon aboard and abandoned by a skeleton crew, was then captured. Van Brakel used the Royal Charles against the English coastal batteries. The rest of the English fleet in the Medway was now virtually defenceless. Only the Monmouth escaped.
Get the remaining ships upstream and sink them. I will not let the Dutch have them. Sink them all!
The remaining 16 ships were taken upstream and sunk, making for over 30 ships deliberately destroyed by the English.
All our hearts do now ache, for the news is true that the Dutch have broke the chain and burnt our ships, and particularly the Royal Charles. Other particulars I know not, but most sad to be sure. And the truth is, I do fear so much that the whole kingdom is undone.
Sir, they're still setting alight our ships. We've lost another 4. I don't know if we can hold off the advance.
The Dutch continued to push up the Medway towards Chatham Docks, with their fireships under English fire from up the castle. A number of Dutch frigates suppressed the English fire, themselves suffering about 40 casualties in dead and wounded.
The raid cost the English 4 of their 8 remaining ships, with over 75 cannon and 3 of the Navy's 4 largest ships lost.
De Ruyter now joined Van Gent's squadron in person.
The dockyard is a challenge too far. We've used up all the fireships. We're under increasing attack from the English. We need to withdraw. This has been a proud day for the Dutch people. Bring the flagship Royal Charles as a war trophy. And the Unity, with all its crew.
De Waiter withdrew from the Medway and moored close to Queenborough before moving into the mouth of the Thames.
Thus in all things, in wisdom, courage, force, knowledge of our own streams and success, the Dutch have the best of us, and do end this war with victory on their side.
The Battle of the Medway proved to be an expensive lesson for the English. Including the replacement costs of the 4 lost capital ships, the total loss of the Royal Navy must have been close to £200,000, which is £30 billion to you people watching.
The dockyard escaped a destruction which might have prevented the rebuilding the English Navy for decades. As commissioner for the dockyard, well, I was held responsible, bailed at £5,000 and deprived of my office, whilst those who had ignored my earlier warnings quietly escaped any blame.
Total losses for us were 8 fire ships and about 50 casualties. Back in the Republic, the populace were jubilant after our victory, and many festivities were held, and indeed repeated, when the fleet arrived back in October. Our admirals were hailed as heroes.
The Dutch victory in the Medway forced Charles II to take the peace negotiations more seriously. Within a few weeks, the war came to an end, with the Treaty of Breda signed on the 31st of July 1667. Dutch and German goods were then allowed to enter Britain in Dutch ships, and most colonies taken during the war were returned, although Britain kept New York and New Jersey. And what of the stolen Royal Charles?
She proved too large a vessel to use in the shallow waters of the Low Countries. We scrapped her in 1673. However, as a souvenir of our victory, we took the royal coat of arms from the stern of the ship. Now visitors to the Rijksmuseum can come and marvel at our victory, the ingenious and audacious victory for our country in that June of 1667.
The Admiralty declared that such a thing should never happen again, and by 1670 the English Navy had been restored to its former power. As for me, I got a post in the docks and can spend more time with my family.
Standing in a crowded room and I can't see your face. Put your arms around me, tell me everything's okay. In my mind I'm running round a cold and empty space. Just put your arms around me, tell me everything's okay. Break my bones, but you won't see me fall. Oh, the rising tide will rise against them all. Oh, darling, hold my hand. 'Cause I don't wanna walk alone anymore, but you understand. 'Cause I don't wanna walk alone. I'm ready for this, there's no denying. I'm ready for this, you start me falling. I'm ready for this, I need you holding. I'm ready for this, so darling, won't you hold my hand? There's a tree